Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to AEW Dynamite April 29th, 2020 review. I do realize that I didn't release an actual review for last week's episode, mainly because of the fact that I didn't feel that show was very good. There was nothing much to talk about. It was very uneventful. There's just nothing about the show that intrigued me to want to go ahead and actually review it. So that's the reason why I skipped out on it. But this show was pretty damn good. I gotta give it that. A lot of good things came out of it. The ending of the show was pretty predictable based off of the fact of what happened in the beginning of the show. So let's just go right into it, get into things here. They open up with Darby Allin and Cody Rhodes' matchup at AEW Fighter Fest. Talked about some of the series of matches they had going into this event and so forth, and just building up this TNT Championship tournament. Chris Jericho and Tony Schiavone run down the night card pretty much, telling us exactly what's on the card and so forth. The first match on the card was actually Darby Allin versus Cody. So they head straight into the matchup. And this match was pretty damn good. I mean, like, literally, this was some great shit. I enjoyed this match a lot. My only problem is the ending. The ending, I guess they did the best they could without hurting Darby Allin with getting... I guess they wanted to give Cody a fluke victory, because, in all honesty, Darby Allin really won this match. There's no doubt about it. Just pure, just bad luck, I guess you could say, for Darby Allin in this situation. But at the end of the day, guys, it was the right way of going about things. I mean, in the sense, if you wanted to tie in Cody versus Lance Archer, that's the best way to do it. But quite frankly, I really wish they would have went with Cody versus Lance Archer for the championship, mainly because of the fact we all know what the end result is going to be with Cody versus Lance Archer. Lance Archer is going to win the championship. There's no doubt about it. I already hinted in the very beginning that this tournament was announced that Lance Archer or Darby Allin would be the two guys, potentially the winners of the match. I even hinted that they could have gone with Darby Allin versus Lance Archer in the finals, which was pretty damn close. At the end of the day, guys, I particularly thought it sucked that we didn't see Darby Allin get a win finally over Cody. But with this match overall, this match was fucking awesome. I enjoyed this match very much. Regardless of the results of the match. So, right after the match was over, we go straight into a video vignette with Scorpio Sky, basically talking about the journey to AEW and SoCal Uncensored. And then, so they start talking about Sky talking about being uncomfortable at first, trying to find his spot with the already established decorated duo of Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian as part of the SoCal Uncensored. Sky concludes that this week's vignette being pointed out that he doesn't just want to be a star, he wants to be a fucking legend. And I love the way he emphasized the word fuck in this, sounding more like an adult, a person who really cares, who wants to be the absolute best in this company. And I sincerely believe that at some point down the line, we are definitely going to see Scorpio Sky at least have one title reign under his belt in this company. Because this guy has talent. That match he had with Chris Jericho in 2019 for that world title was spectacular. One of the best matches I have ever seen of Scorpio Sky. Outside of a couple other matches he had in Ring of Honor, which were pretty off the hook. But this match in AEW was awesome. I enjoyed this match very much. Now, I enjoyed that match very much. Now, MJF gives us an injury update. He talks about having a hangnail. Holy fuck. This guy is fucking hilarious. Quite frankly. Now, he claims that while shaving, though, he recovers from a hangnail, but MJF claims that while shaving, however, he nicked his neck, and he took his little scarf off, and you see a neck brace around his neck. Why? He starts announcing that he cut his throat by shaving, and he could have bled to death. He gets choked up when talking about the injury while revealing a giant neck brace to protect his nicked neck. He claims he's a warrior because most mortal men would have bled to death. Holy fuck, this guy is out of his mind. He goes on to sarcastically claim he cares about the fans so much after joking that his latest injury cost him the chance to perform in front of, 6 or 7 of his peers in the crowd, which I thought was fucking great as well. Still acknowledging that we have a pandemic issue going on in the United States of America, as well as in the world, of course. He closes by informing us, in case we forgot, he is better than us, and he knows it. Well, I thought he said, and we know that. But whatever. I actually feel that he kind of stole that line by fucking, whatchamacallit, White Goodman from Dodgeball with good old Ben Stiller. We're better than you, and you know it. I thought that was fucking hilarious. That I watched the Dodgeball movie this past weekend, and when Ben Stiller's character said that, I was like, holy shit, MJF stole that fucking line. I couldn't believe it. I told my friend Matt, and he says to me, Bruce, sorry to tell you, but nobody can steal the lines from White Goodman. And he starts saying all the other good lines that Ben Stiller's character said, which was fucking great, what he said in that movie. That movie is fucking legendary comedy. I mean, if you can't laugh at this movie, you're not alive. I'm sorry. If there's not one thing in that movie that can make you laugh and you think it's pathetic crap, there's something wrong with you. Seriously. That movie was great. I mean, it was off the walls, over the top, and just ridiculous, but it was still funny at the same time. Fucking Chuck Norris. Anyway. We had a match right after that promo with Wardlow against an enhancement talent by the name of Musa. Wardlow, my God. He connects, out of everything that happens in this matchup, he connects with a brutal, and this was creative. I don't think I've ever seen this done in professional wrestling before. Now, tell me if I'm wrong if you have seen it somewhere else, but I haven't. He takes his opponent, Wardlow, and he puts his opponent in the corner. The guy's on the top rope. You think you go on and do the typical thing, climb up to the top rope, and do a suplex. That is not the case. He actually goes ahead, does a Batista type of thing, thumbs up, and then thumbs down. He takes his opponent behind the head, pushes him downward, and strikes him with an upcoming knee to the head. Now, CM Punk's go to sleep, eat your fucking heart out. My God, that was fucking brutal. Then he picks him up, does an airplane F5, and pins him 1, 2, 3. If this man, Wardlow, does not get pushed for a world title shot in the future, I don't know. This guy is a future world champion. I really feel this guy's got a lot of fucking talent. He's got that old school muscular body look that is great as long as it's legit. I don't like guys that are muscular and are on steroids. I think it's unnatural. It's fucking not genuine. It just looks like shit. And I don't like somebody that's big and muscular by cheating, such as like Ginger Mahal. Anyway, you know, the good old ginger juice by JD, as he calls it. From JD from New York 206. Yeah, he definitely comes up with some good lines, especially that one for Ginger Mahal. So I'm not going to steal his lines or anything, but I will pay homage, or at least acknowledgement, to the man's comment and line of Ginger Mahal on that one. Because that was just downright fucking hilarious when he called him that. But Wardlow, I definitely see as a guy that could be a future world champion at some point down the line. Now we have the Bubbly Bunch, featured by a bunch of celebrity cameos and so forth. One of which being Corey Taylor, being fucking Vicky Guerrero, Kevin Smith, fucking Lou Ferrigno. I mean, they got some cast of people that came out of nowhere, and this is how it all came about. So the Inner Circle is doing their usual thing, talking over the phone, face-to-face, timing each other, and they talk about, let's go ahead and just beat the shit out of each other and really build character through one another. So they have Corey Taylor show up, which is not mentioned in this article I'm reading. And they just go ahead and they pretend like they're hitting the camera, and then it moves on to somebody else. The best one, I think, out of the bunch was the last one. Vicky Guerrero was great. She was fucking amazing. I don't know who the last person pretended to hit her or whatever, but she goes, "Are you kidding me?" And then Jericho kind of cuts in and says, "Oh God, stop!" And that's how they kind of end the whole thing and so forth. That was fucking hilarious with freaking Vicky Guerrero. I absolutely enjoyed the shit out of that. I thought that was fucking great. She really was cool in that whole scene there. So I was totally cool with it. Next match was a no disqualification, no countout match with Jimmy Havoc and Kip Save Him versus the best friends of Chucky T and Trent. This matchup, I didn't really have a lot of investment for it. It was a good hardcore wrestling match. Nothing, came out of it. I don't know what they were fighting for. They could have at least put some kind of fight feel kind of situation in it to make it seem more important. Do they get a shot at tag team gold for the future? Do they get opportunity to, do anything of some importance? This match just seemed like some regular, ordinary, boring, blanded, average Joe ECW type style matchup that really didn't seem to pay off, in my opinion, in the meaning of like pushing someone who wins this match to a higher level, is where I'm trying to go with this. So I didn't really care for the matchup. I wasn't even looking forward to it when it was announced last week, so whatever. We get a video vignette with Dr. Britt Baker and Rebel, the makeup artist. So Dr. Britt Baker vignette in her dentist's office. We get to meet her makeup artist, Rebel. She calls Reba and treats like crap. She flips through some giant pages with some instructions and reminders to fans. The first of which is just her Twitter address. Whoops, how did that get there, she says, in believable fashion, making it that much more hilarious as she turns the page and begins her list. She runs through the list, taking many shots at Tony Schiavone, especially with being overweight, which Schiavone has gotten a little bit overweight. He's kind of been a heavy-set kind of person. Not like super fat or anything, but he's always had a beer belly, even when he was younger, but he's kind of developed more of a beer belly now. And she makes comments about his teeth kind of being a little disorientated. So her attitude is, if you have messed up teeth, don't smile. It'll scare yourself and it'll scare other people. So she's taking shots at Tony Schiavone. Where the point is with Britt Baker and Tony Schiavone, I don't know. I don't know where the fuck they're going with this, outside of just some goofy, comedic type style that they're going with for Britt Baker to have some sort of gimmick to make fun of another announcer. I mean, The Rock did it. Hulk Hogan had Mean Gene Okerlund, which he didn't make fun of, but he had like a kind of like a partnership type feel to it, and that was pretty much that. But this seems a little more along the lines like picking on one specific person. Why they chose Tony Schiavone for Britt Baker, I don't know. I don't know why they couldn't have said Jim Ross or both of them for that matter. But she seems to just stick with Tony Schiavone. She's not moving on to maybe somebody else to make comments about and so forth. But she's claiming to be a role model as if she's like Bayley when Bayley was a face, only playing a heel role like character to do this bullshit rhetoric. I don't understand it whatsoever. It seems very stupid and a waste of time. Shawn Spears versus Baron Black. This was a fucking wasted out match. Shawn Spears wins this match easily, hands down. Now, we get a small video package from Jon Moxley and what he has to say. So they tease the promo questioning what will Jon Moxley have to say, before also telling us that the Exalted One, Brody Lee versus Marco Stunt, is coming up next, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So, really, at this point, Jon Moxley makes his announcement that he's returning to the AEW ring next week. He also mentions that 2 months ago, he won the AEW World Championship with a crowd full of people. Now, at this point in time, it feels like it's been an eternity, or a very long time, I should say. Maybe not an eternity, but a very long time since the last time he was around a crowd. Now, I wouldn't say it was that long ago. 2 months ain't that far away, but again, it does feel like a long time. With things being the way they are, it really sucks. Especially for a wrestling show. Wrestling needs a fucking audience, most desperately. It fucking sucks without an audience. I don't care if the crowd's sitting there with their hands on their ass, or their ass on their hands. I'm sorry I said that backwards, but you get my point. I don't care if they're, at this point in time, I used to complain that the fans weren't making enough noise or expressing their opinions when something isn't going the way they think it should go, or think it's bad or something of that kind of nature. At this point in time, I'd like to be able to see some fucking people in the audience while I'm watching these shows. Because at this time, all we're seeing from AEW is having, like MJF says, 6 or 7 people that are wrestlers acting as fans. Yeah, doesn't work out very well. Don't really like it. Alright, so we have Marco's Stunt versus the Exalted One, Brody Lee, one-on-one. Of course, this was an obvious one. Brody Lee wins. A lot of these matches had pretty much squash matches. Nothing major here. I mean, it was kind of pointless. So, we got Jon Moxley shown walking. This is actually the full dialogue of this. So Jon Moxley is shown walking through the streets with graffiti-filled walls, talking about how crazy it is that 8 weeks ago he was in a sea of AEW fans celebrating his AEW World Championship win. He then calls Jake Hager a bitch when referring his title defense over the Inner Circle member in his last AEW World Championship bout. He thanks God for his wife, Renee Young, for being able to put up with being stuck in a house with him for so long. He then announces that at next week's live AEW Dynamite, he will make his return in person. He asks if everyone is paying attention and says, "Don't forget to call your grandmother." And then we head to commercial break. That was fucking weird. I don't know where the fuck that came from, but whatever. That was pretty out of nowhere. So, the last thing on the card was the Dustin Rhodes versus Lance Archer match to finish out this tournament, to finally come down to the final 2 opponents for the finals on this match. Granted, this was not a squash match. This was a decent match, especially by Dustin Rhodes. Dustin really tried his best to win this match, but unfortunately, that was not the case. Cody, later on, during the later part of this match, comes down to the ring and wants to throw in the towel to save his brother because he was afraid of his well-being and safety. So he wanted to do that, and Dustin stops him from doing that altogether. He holds on to the white towel. Lance Archer pulls him back into the ring, and then takes his head and starts smacking it into the mat repetitively, multiple times, over and over again. And at that point, it knocked out Dustin Rhodes for a 3-second pinfall count, and that was the end of the match. And that was that. So, Cody's standing there, checking in on his brother, making sure he's still alive after those multiple shots to the back of the head with the ring. Lance Archer's on the outside, kind of just grimacing and laughing at the work that he did on Dustin Rhodes. And you see this look in Cody's face. It looks like one of those typical type of... it seems like those typical type of things like you've seen in a regular sports movie. Let's say Rocky IV, where Apollo Creed gets killed by Dolph Lundgren, by Ivan Drago. Let's just say that. And you see Rocky Balboa looking at Ivan Drago and kind of like giving him this look like, I'm going to fucking kill you type of thing. And that's pretty much it kind of got from this whole ending to this show. So it was a very typical, predictable situation that they did, which was mentioned by a couple other reviewers on YouTube for this AEW tournament for the TNT Championship. So nothing was very surprising at the end of the day. Now, granted, it's a very good storyline to tie Lance Archer and Cody, but to take Darby, they had to sacrifice Darby Allin in this, and I really don't like it. I think Darby Allin was the guy that you're supposed to be crowning as a mid-card championship, and unfortunately, based on the storyline, it's a rough decision to make. I have to give credit to AEW, regardless of the fact that I may not agree with their decision. This is a good thing to tie together the TNA Championship, Lance Archer and Cody Rhodes. You got all this combined. It gives reason for these two guys to compete against one another. So they're actually fighting over something. It's a TNT Championship. So is it a good decision? Yes. Unfortunately, it's bad timing. I don't like the idea that Darby Allin doesn't get the win at the end of the day over Cody and win the TNT Championship to be the first ever TNT champion. Because, quite frankly, I don't think anyone would disagree with me. Darby Allin has produced probably the best matches out of any of the young stars on this roster right now, and he would be a great asset as the TNT champion. Lance Archer, though, he's got something about him that I like. I mean, he's not great or anything. He ain't super spectacular, but for him to compete with Cody Rhodes over the TNT Championship and beat Cody for the title, I would be okay with. Like I said when this tournament was first announced, Lance Archer or Darby Allin's the best choices right now that you can go with. Lance Archer mainly because he's a new upcomer that was being looked at as one of these kick-ass characters they were trying to push on the audience to make them think that he's one of these badasses, which, believably, he's okay. I mean, he's not bad. But I don't see him as a champion for a long period of time. I think maybe 2-3 months would be suitable enough. And then you have Darby Allin pick up a lucky victory over him and move on from there with Darby Allin as the TNT Championship. This, really, to me, is just to give Lance Archer a huge momentum over Cody Rhodes and getting a TNT Championship victory to hold the title to really elevate his character a bit. Before moving him into something more important, I would say. Right now, this is probably the only important thing going on with AEW right now, being produced towards the Double or Nothing pay-per-view. Now, with Jon Moxley coming back, we're probably going to see something else produced going into this pay-per-view. I mean, they do have a couple of more weeks left, so they might actually have like a 3-4 week build for the AEW World Championship. The only thing that really has been produced the most was Matt Hardy versus Chris Jericho and the TNT Championship finals match going into the AEW Double or Nothing pay-per-view. Anyway, guys, at this time, that's all I have to say on this subject. Leave your comments and opinions down below. Hit the like button if you like this video, and hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed to the channel. And I thank you very much for watching, and have a great night. Bye.